Imagine paying $139 for a watch that can't tell the time. For 11,000 people in 2013, that wasn't a hypothetical, it was a year-long nightmare. This is the story of Kreyos Meteor, a $1 million promise that transformed into one of the most spectacular collapses in crowdfunding history. Now, you've probably never heard Steve Tan. He is a marketer out of Singapore with a real track record of building brands and selling ideas online. He is sharp, well-connected, and he knows exactly how to package an idea and get people to believe in it. He is not an engineer, and he has never shipped a physical product in his life. But none of that is going to stop him. The year is 2013, and the smartwatch market is essentially wide open. A competing wearable company has just finished a record-breaking crowdfunding run, pulling in $10 million and proving there is massive consumer appetite for wrist technology. Apple has not entered the space yet. There is no dominant player. And if you were paying attention to the wearable market in mid-2013, you could see the opening from miles away. The window is there for whoever can move fast enough with the right pitch. Now Tan connects with a man named Pro Yang, who runs a manufacturing company called ViewCooper based out of Shanghai. Yang presents himself as a seasoned hardware operator with over a decade of experience building consumer electronics. He drops the names of some of the biggest tech companies in the world as past clients. He has a factory, a team, and an offer that sounds like exactly what Tan needs to hear. ViewCooper will take care of everything on the technical side, from hardware design and firmware development all the way through software and manufacturing. Tan brings the branding and the marketing. It is a clean division of labor between two people with complementary expertise. Well, for someone with Tan's background, this is about as ideal a setup as a first-time hardware founder could ask for. He does not need to build an engineering team from the ground up. He does not need to learn what a circuit board costs. His partner has the demanding technical side completely handled. So the two of them shake hands and Kreyos is born. You may be wondering what this product actually claims to do, and the answer is a whole lot. The device is called the Kreyos Meteor, and the feature list is the most aggressive pitch in the smartwatch space at the time. You wear it on your wrist and speak to it like a hands-free communicator straight out of a science fiction show, sending texts and making calls without ever pulling your phone out of your pocket. It has programmable gesture control, meaning a specific wrist movement triggers whatever action you have set up. It is waterproof to more than 5 meters, so swimming and showering are no problem at all. The battery runs for 7 full days on a single charge. It tracks fitness with a full sensor suite, and it connects to Apple phones, Android phones, and Windows phones all in one device. You get all of that for $139 as an early backer with a retail price of $169. This is the kind of product pitch that makes you stop scrolling. For everything the Meteor supposedly does, that price is genuinely difficult to argue with. Now the campaign goes live in July 2013 on a popular crowdfunding platform with a funding goal of $100,000. What happens over the following weeks is the kind of result that almost never plays out in crowdfunding. Over 11,000 people back the project and raise over $1.5 million in total. That is 15 times the original funding goal. Retailers from around the world reach out directly, asking about exclusive distribution deals. Technology publications run enthusiastic preview pieces. The Meteor starts being talked about as the watch that will make every competitor take notes. And when you see a campaign do 15 times its goal with backers from across the globe lining up, it is easy to understand why everyone is so convinced this is the real thing. You can read the coverage from that summer and feel the excitement building around this product in real time. Every article treats the campaign result as confirmation that the market is ready for something ambitious. Tan announces a delivery window of November 2013, just 5 months after the campaign closes. Backers start counting down. Well, the response from the wider tech community is consistently warm throughout this entire period. The voice control angle gets repeated attention in publications because no other smartwatch at the time is pitching itself as a fully hands-free device quite this boldly. The gesture control promise sparks real conversations in online communities. Comments fill with genuine excitement. People compare the Meteor to every competing wearable they can name, and many of them start arguing that this might actually be the one that gets it right. So Tan and his small team of 4 people ride this momentum into what looks like a strong product launch. The money is in the bank. The manufacturing partner is supposedly moving on schedule. Everything appears to be on track. If you were following the wearable tech space at the time, the Kreyos Meteor was genuinely one of the most talked about products of that year. But November 2013 arrives and not a single watch ships. The first delay update goes out and backers take it in stride. Hardware development is complicated and timelines slip. But a second delay notice follows a few months later, then another one shortly after that. Each announcement triggers a fresh wave of refund requests, costing Kreyos around $100,000 every single time. The crowdfunding money starts bleeding out fast before a single watch has reached a single backer. Now the watches finally start arriving in the summer of 2014, more than 8 months behind the original schedule. And what backers find inside those boxes has almost nothing in common with the product they were promised. The waterproofing fails almost immediately. Watches stop working in showers. Some units arrive already damaged from storage with water inside the housing. The battery that was promised to last 7 days barely makes it through 1. The gesture controls that were front and center in the original campaign pitch are completely absent from the finished product, not as a simplified version or a work in progress, but entirely gone. But the voice features are no better. The speaker quality is so poor that phone calls are effectively impossible to follow. The microphone has an echo problem severe enough that callers can hear themselves talking back. The fitness tracking is completely unreliable because the watch's own vibration motor keeps triggering false step counts every time it buzzes. Several promised features, including sleep tracking and a phone finding function, simply never make it into the product at all. Well then, there is the failure that captures the whole experience better than anything else. The Kreyos Meteor cannot keep accurate time unless it stays actively connected via Bluetooth to a nearby smartphone. Walk away from your phone and the watch freezes on whatever time it last synced. Some backers wake up in the morning and the watch is still showing the time from when they fell asleep the night before. You paid for a watch, and the watch cannot tell you what time it is. Now, the story running beneath all of this involves a level of financial deception that makes the product failures look almost secondary. So here's what Tan eventually lays out in a remarkably candid public post written after the company shuts down. View Cooper is not the trustworthy partner they presented themselves as from the very beginning. The actual cost to manufacture each watch is around $30. View Cooper charges Kreyos $52 per unit. And to secure that supposedly favorable pricing deal, Tan gives away 30% of the company as equity. View Cooper gets partial ownership of Kreyos and still pockets profit on every single unit produced. And when you read through what Tan eventually documents about this arrangement, you start to understand that the product was set up to fail from day one. But the pricing manipulation runs far deeper than the unit cost. Yang tells Tan that the LCD screens the watch requires are in critically short supply, that major competitors are locking up entire production lines, and that Kreyos must place large orders immediately or fall behind on the manufacturing schedule. This is entirely fabricated. There is no shortage whatsoever. The screens cost View Cooper around $5 each. They charge Kreyos $15 per screen. Kreyos ends up buying over 64,000 screens for close to $1 million total. When the company collapses, it has 40,000 of those screens sitting in a warehouse worth more than $660,000 that will never be used. Well, when the full scope of the financial relationship is laid out, View Cooper and its principals walk away with close to $900,000 through inflated unit prices, marked up components, and work that was paid for but never actually delivered. But the app development is its own separate disaster on top of all of this. Tan pays View Cooper $16,000 as a deposit to build the smartphone apps the watch depends on to function. For months, Yang insists the work is nearly complete. In early 2014, he finally admits his team cannot build them at all. Outside developers are brought in, but View Cooper refuses to hand over documentation for the watch's own firmware. 2 of those developers quit because they say the job is genuinely impossible without that information. The apps that eventually ship are described by backers as barely functional. So at a major consumer electronics trade show in early 2014, the cracks become impossible to conceal. Kreyos brings 20 demo units to the floor to show the product to the industry. By the end of the event, 19 of those 20 units have stopped working entirely. Now the full public collapse lands in the summer of 2014. Tech publications run devastating coverage across the board. Old photos of Steve Tan from a factory trip he took in 2010, 3 years before Kreyos ever existed, spread online with claims that he spent backer money on personal luxuries. Tan Tan responds publicly and explains that the timeline makes the accusation impossible, but the media narrative has already taken hold, and the reputation damage is severe. But there's no money left to process further refunds at this point regardless. Backers who stayed through every delay, who kept their pledges active when others canceled, now receive defective products with no recourse available. The people who gave up during the delays and requested refunds earlier got their money back. The most loyal supporters are stuck holding broken hardware with nowhere to turn. Well before the company shuts down, Tan makes sure every backer receives a unit, broken or not. He also releases all of the firmware and app source code publicly for anyone who wants to try to salvage something from the wreckage. By September 2014, Kreyos closes all operations. 14 months after raising over $1.5 million and becoming one of the most successful smartwatch crowdfunding campaigns of its era, the company is gone. Steve Tan loses $370,000 of his own money and owes another $750,000 to investors, friends, and family. His team of 16 people is out of work. Over 11,000 backers have a defective watch, no software support, and no path to a refund. Pro-Yang faced no successful legal consequences. I want you to sit with that for a moment because close to $900,000 was pulled out of this project through systematic fraud, and not one person responsible for it ever faced a financial penalty. Tan publishes one of the most transparent postmortems in crowdfunding history, naming names and attaching financial records to back up every claim. So Kreyos gets cited in articles about hardware crowdfunding risk for years afterward, but the money never comes back. The Kreyos Meteor exists today as open source code sitting in a rarely visited online repository. The physical watches stopped working years ago, abandoned by cloud services that shut down and firmware updates that never arrived. So, what do you think about the failure of Kreyos? Is it the fault of the founder? Or maybe just an unfortunate circumstance? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you want more stories like this one, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.